Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What would you say if I told you there's a book that can teach you how to win The Bachelor?
What would you say if I told you producers caught multiple finalists reading that book in this season that's currently airing?
What would you say if I told you the producers don't want anyone to know that their show has been compromised?
How do we know all this? We wrote that book.
I'm Lizzie Pace.
And I'm Chad Kulchin.
We're the authors of How to Win the Bachelor and the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we break down all the biggest plays, errors, and MVPs in the game of reality television.
Listen to Game of Roses wherever you get your podcasts and go to howtowinthebachelor.com to get our book.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi everyone, Dave here. Before we get to this episode, just want to give you a heads up that there will be spoilers for all Line of Duty episodes to date. There are also spoilers for the TV series Bodyguard, also by Jed Mercurio, and there are also randomly some spoilers for the movie Spectre, the James Bond movie. I've got time codes for when those are in the episode synopsis. And we'll give you a quick warning. Just wanted to give you fair warning. So on with the episode. This is Chief Superintendent Constable Sergeant David Corkery interviewing Superintendent Lieutenant Catherine Cullen. The date is 13th of May.
Inspector Catherine Cullen.
For the tape, Inspector Catherine Cullen, Superintendent First Level, has intervened to correct her rank.
I absolutely refuse for someone who is a rank less than me to conduct this interview.
For the tape?
For the tape.
For the tape, Catherine Cullen is refusing the right to be interviewed by her superior.
My inferior! I'm the superior officer. Unfortunately, neither of us know which the correct titles are. But
for the tape!
No, for the tape.
For
I am the superior officer.
Tape! You are out of line, officer.
I advise you to
officer.
turn to page 54 in your notes, where it clearly states that I am the superior one in this relationship.
I relate to you subsection 24B/6, paragraph
Mother
7.
Mother of God! Holy Mother of God!
By God, woman, have you ever even read a manual before?
Right, we're finally here for Line of Duty. It's 3 weeks? 2 weeks since the finale aired.
It's only a week or so, is it? I don't know.
Maybe
anyway,
it's
we're
also
late.
only a week. We missed it.
Guys, we were on holidays,
all right?
On holidays. We took a break, all right?
And we missed it then.
I'm sorry.
We missed it the week before that, so we ended up binging last night when we got home from Greece the last 2 episodes, which was a very epic binge.
So
and
we're caught up.
We're caught up. Neither of us had been spoiled by anyone, which was really cool. So we're just recording basically a general chit-chat about the last season. Spoilers for all Line of Duty seasons. Don't listen if you haven't seen Line of Duty. Go off and watch it.
Go watch Line of Duty.
And
it's all on the iPlayer for a while, and it's all on Netflix as well, except the latest season. But
the finale,
it's a great show.
I was reading last night, the finale had the highest ever rating for any Line of Duty episode ever. It's grown every year, and
wow.
It was over 9 million in the overnights, which is huge.
What about Bodyguard? What does it relate to that?
Bodyguard was the highest, I think the highest rated drama ever. It was something like 13 million. It was
so
like
Bodyguard's bigger than this?
Yeah, Bodyguard's bigger than this.
Wow.
That was unprecedented though. That was just like a whole zeitgeist thing.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Bodyguard, also made by creator Jed Mercurio, who makes Line of Duty.
But at least 4 million people more watched Bodyguard, so they'll definitely know if they're English.
Right.
So we kind of don't know where to start.
Let's just talk generally how you feel about this season.
So I think my expectations were very high on this season. We watched the first 3 seasons together, and then Dave didn't watch season 4, but I did, the Tandy Newton one.
Yeah, how did that come about? You just decided to watch it?
I was waiting for you because I kept waiting to watch it, and you were like, "Oh, I don't want to watch it." So in the end, I just went around you and watched it myself.
For me, this show peaked in season 3, and I'm having difficulty getting over that
because you haven't seen season 4.
I know, but it was almost like that was so good. That was such a great season of television with such a great ending. I was like,
as was the Tandy Newton season
that
you're basically discrediting because you didn't see. So yeah, I had really, really high expectations, and like the primary thing I want from a Line of Duty season is brilliant guest star, brilliant interview scenes, and like big shock twists. Yeah. But for me, it's like the core of it is the interview scenes and the guest stars, and something that that was truly epic in the Thandie Newton one was when Thandie Newton and Hastings were finally in a room together, which you missed, and it was incredible. And a huge part of that was actually her basically claiming that Ted was guilty of like systemic sexism and being a misogynist. And it really they really leaned into it, and Ted was like calling women like girl, that wee girl, and he was being really funny about Kate, and you kind of missed all of that. And he was like kind of being weird with DCR, not like going for drinks with him but not with Kate. So that was all really interesting. They sowed a lot of seeds, and then we come back to this season, which was like a year and a half later, and Kate's been promoted over Arnott, which is really interesting, and I kind of enjoyed that as the setting. So kind of as a starting point, I definitely enjoyed the season, but I felt like towards the end it lost me a little bit. I was a bit disappointed because like we loved Stephen Graham and he was so great, and then he was like gone.
That was a great surprise though.
It was so awful. Like I was really upset after watching that. Actually, it was so violent. It was awfully violent.
Well, the whole scenario, just to talk about that very briefly, Colbert's death, it was a brilliantly executed shock, but it is set in a very, very upsetting.
It was really upsetting,
scene,
yeah.
Just in terms of like the context of the whole thing,
because you know that that's stuff that actually happens.
Yeah,
like those poor women, and they were being called livestock, and I honestly felt really ill, and I think that's partially why I didn't watch it for a few weeks then, because it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
But look, to the show's credit, it doesn't shy away from the reality. Like
I think it's a good thing to portray, because like, I'm sorry, but there are clearly lots of like men in this country who use those kind of brothels, and those women are not doing it willingly, and
yeah.
I'm glad to see that conveyed in a hugely popular drama that 9 million people watch.
There is an active.
I've
seen posters for. There is an active campaign to promote awareness of the slave industry, and the slavery exists in modern society in many forms, and that is one of the most cruel and horrible. But it does exist.
Yeah, I read interestingly that
board.
the totally side note, like when we get back to Line of Duty, that the kind of easiest industries to spot
ones that accept only cash, right?
Specifically for women, it tends to be nail bars, and for men, it tends to be car washes. And
right.
If they only take cash, and if the people serving you don't appear to speak any English, and it specifically in those industries. So that's really interesting, particularly to me, because as someone who actually I do go and get my nails done, generally it is a place where a lot of people don't speak English and they only take cash, so It's made me really question where I'm spending my money. But total by the Stephen Graham stuff, he's brilliant, isn't he?
Stephen Graham is outstanding. I think he's an amazing actor, and I completely agree with you in, you put it really well there, why we come to this show, and it's the same reasons. You get an amazing guest star for each season for me, who is the star of the show, which is very interesting. I can't think of another show where the quote unquote main characters, or the ones that we follow consistently throughout all these seasons, are really secondary. For me, they are anyway.
You've got Kate, Arnott, and Hastings. Well,
Yeah.
Arnott and Hastings have now both been in jail, which is ridiculous.
They're
like the three. They're all pretty much dry balls. Not much fun to be had from them, and they're all just kind of there to facilitate the greater plot.
Yeah, and almost I feel like they, I've never really connected emotionally with any of them.
But you did miss last season when Arnott was really badly injured and put in a wheelchair.
Fine,
so again,
yeah.
I put it to you, Lieutenant Corkery, that you have neglected your duty as a Mile of Thrones podcaster by not watching season 4.
This is Mile of Duty, honey.
Yeah.
Get it? All right, wee girl. Get it right. This isn't Mile of Thrones.
Oh, whoops, Mile of Duty.
I
put it to you that you have no right.
I agree. Look,
speak to me like that.
You do have to take everything I say in this episode with a grain of salt, because
a fistful of salt.
Skipped a whole season, which I normally don't.
You're like, boring, Arnott's impotent. I'm like, he was thrown down like 7 flights of stairs and beaten with a baseball bat and was in a coma.
I just don't.
And you weren't there for it.
I find when Arnott and Kate and I think both Vicky McClure and Martin Compston, they're good actors.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not their fault, and it's not the writing's fault. But I feel like the show. They are basically
so
there.
It's not their fault, then it's not the right
Hang on.
Whose fault is it?
Well, maybe you could let me answer
Sorry,
and speak instead of interrupting.
For the tape, let it be known, I did not interrupt.
What? That's on the tape. This is the tape. You can play it back to you, and it's you interrupting. it's not their fault. They are basically they're vessels for exposition and plot and discovery. That is their function. They have to move the plot along. So I always feel whenever they get emotional beats and stories, they feel like quite perfunctory. And
it's like, ooh,
they
Kate's
don't- yeah.
husband's crossed at her again
So
for being a policewoman.
Well, yeah, so most of the time it's just the two of them in a room, like finding a piece of evidence and going, you know what this means, mate? And it's like, the gaffer won't like this. And I'm like, and for me, a lot of that sort of police dialogue and chubby banter never really gels. So
Yeah,
anyway,
we're under a tunnel now, so it's echoey. But this is where we were actually
sidetracked
arguing
me.
about this
We
last
were
night.
talking about Stephen Graham.
Oh, right,
Go
okay,
on,
but
go
on that
Yeah.
point, I really do think that this show is well researched enough that he's using language that the police will be using.
Yes.
And that is the way they'll be speaking to each other. And at the end of the day, Kate and Arnett aren't really that interesting, as we've said. And they work on really serious things, so they're not really going to be sitting around and like bantering in the office. And I read an interesting piece in The Guardian that I'm not sure 100% agree with, but it was still very interesting, which was they were saying that it's very gender neutral language in Line of Duty. So you know the way often roles are written specifically with a woman or a man in mind, or somebody who's white, or someone who's a different ethnicity, or someone who's a specific size. They're saying that almost all the dialogue in Line of Duty, excepting like the sexist ones that Hastings was using, could be spoken by a male or female, and you could at any point flip Arnett and Kate, and that it would still be the same plot. And they were positing that it was quite interesting that in this show, women's motives aren't judged by their gender, judged by what's going on in their job. So I thought that was quite an interesting article.
Well, that's interesting, and I agree with that. I think it comes across.
Because
However,
all they say is mate and gaffer.
However, I think as a byproduct of maybe it's not because of that, but maybe it's as a result of those decisions, I feel like they just become homogenous sort of cop characters.
Oh yeah, they are.
And I agree. I think Jed Mercurio, I don't know his history or relationship with the police, but this is one of the most authentic police shows, or at least authentic feeling police shows around, and it's one of the best police shows around.
Excepting the last
Because-
episodes, which are usually completely bunkers in finales.
But this, I know, and look, we'll talk about how it kind of got a bit silly and soapy in a bit. But I think what I really, another point you made was the interviews, right? So the interview scenes are so well constructed and choreographed, and they've got all this boring level of admin detail.
I love it.
Which just punches up the reality of it. Like,
and when they say please refer to your file, you're like, oh my god, what's in the file?
It's so good because basically they go in there with these files, which are basic, this like blow by blow assassination of this person across the table.
So good.
And it's and this season delivered. I thought on that front towards the end.
But
in
right at the
particular.
end though, and I felt like every episode I was like, but where's the interview scene? And in other seasons I felt like they've done that better and earlier on.
Okay, yes, but however, what this season did is it decided to take a course correction by making the main cop under investigation an active undercover operative, which I think is a really interesting decision.
I mean, he's slightly better than Kate. Like, when Kate's undercover, all she does is pretend to be a police officer in another office.
in her own building.
And she's like,
Usually.
Mom. And that's pretty much her being undercover. She's way better in this season as being like an actual cop, which we've not really seen her do before.
So I thought that was a really it felt different for the show, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a great setup.
And it was a good twist at the end of the first episode that he was the undercover as well, remember?
No, I disagree. I thought it was lame. I thought that
I liked
whole
it.
first episode where they're trying to make us think that Lisa McQueen, his female cohort in the OCG, was
OCG so
was
much.
the undercover cop, was so bloody well signposted.
I didn't
and-
think so.
Oh, it was.
Well,
Come on, it was just
according
like
to you it was,
that
not
was
according
a
to me.
twist. That was a twist waiting to happen.
For the tape, let it be noted that I am saying that David Corkery may have believed it was signposted, but I did not.
Anyway, I was in the middle of a point. I thought it was a bold move to do that and to make that the character, but by doing that, you naturally can't have the interview. Hey, stay away from the ducks. You're going way too close.
Oh, I want to
the
take a
mother's
picture of
going to
them.
get really annoyed.
Oh, whoops. And
Yeah.
here I'm just going to
You're
take a
just
picture.
wading through the poor duck's baby.
We're walking
goose's
around
babies.
the canals
All right, come
of Surrey here.
on. You could take a picture from over here.
Well,
you don't.
clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
For the tape, I do not deliberately traumatize baby ducks.
It was a total accident. It was classic human beings stumbling through nature recklessly.
Trying to take photos.
But yeah, so that it was a sacrifice they had to make because you can't have that. Disappointing that we never got it at all with him, but then if you're going to have this surprise kill, you never get it.
I know we're asking too much. And you did want to talk about Stephen Graham more, didn't you?
Yeah.
Got diverted.
So wow, we've gone massively diverted. Stephen Graham was excellent. I was the most invested in him as a character throughout this whole season. I really enjoyed. I thought the discovery of him that he was the cop was surprising. I didn't expect that. I just knew that it wouldn't be Lisa McQueen, or whatever her character was called. But that it was him was massively surprising because we'd seen him. The execution of a police officer.
He was in I love that idea of like the exploration of somebody who's gone so deep undercover that they've just completely lost it.
But the way he tries to rationalise everything he does was quite interesting.
But it was like it all felt like his motivations were a little bit too over the top for me, and they really brought that back around in the final episode when we learned why he was so gung-ho. So it made sense, and I think it was really well done. And then there was like a really heartbreaking scene where he phones the wife and he says, just let me listen to the kids breathing. And I was like, I would we've literally sat like around a baby monitor listening to Oscar breathing. I was like, I could totally imagine wanting that as a parent, and I thought that was really heartbreaking.
He sells that. He's just a tremendous actor.
So great. One thing I have to note for the tape is that Dave Corkery does an absolutely horrific Liverpudlian accent, and he kept trying to do it whenever Stephen Graham was on, and we'd like pause it for a cup of tea, and Dave would do like Flemish or something, like basically.
So not you mean? I know it's so bad. I can't do it. Apologies to any of our listeners from Liverpool.
It's an accent that no one should ever try and copy because you just can't, especially not if you're Irish.
The Liverpool accent, I don't know what I'm going.
Dave, that's not a Liverpool accent.
Wait, that's kind of bad Scottish.
It's like a bad Scottish accent.
I don't know what. I can't do accents.
So bad.
All right, anyway. So that's Stephen Graham. We both agree he was excellent.
And what about the way, there was stuff about Stephen Graham that was so tragic because he was even he was very anti-bent cops, right? So he was like...
it's a bold stance to take.
But he'd really hard line on it. If you were a bent cop, he didn't care if he died. He's a very harsh view
As in,
of it.
he basically... They murdered 3 police officers
and he's
at the beginning.
He was literally like, tough shit, bent coppers, whatever, dead to me. But then for him... And I really liked this about him when they were doing the sex trade stuff and talking about livestock. He was like, no. And he grabbed Lisa because he could see she wasn't comfortable about it. And I'm such a sucker, but I thought Lisa was going to help him, and I thought they were going to get the girls out, and I was really pumped during that scene. I was like, yes, they're going to get everyone. And it was just, that's why it was so heartbreaking, because it was not only that we saw these awful situations with these women, but we saw him, and he thought that he was getting out too, and he thought he was saving Lisa, and then at the end we see Lisa crying, she doesn't want to do any of it. It's just why are people in these awful situations? And the young guy who ends up doing the police interview at the very end, he's actually been in it since season 1.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I was I definitely remember we saw that scene where they had the body parts in a fridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've seen this apartment before with this young guy who's got Down syndrome and he's helping them. And then...
Yeah, I remember all that.
Yeah, and then I googled it, and there's basically a Wikipedia of characters from the show, which is hilarious. So I googled him last night after we watched it, and he's been in it since season 1. Remember, he mentioned a police officer in his interview at the very end. He mentioned a police officer that had inspired him, and that's why he wants to become a policeman. Apparently that's one of the dirty ones who's been in it since season 1, and that dirty, so people are saying it's like the way the caddy was brought in to be dirty from the start. This guy's being brought in, so obviously they're building him up. I mean, he was fucking awful in this scene. He's the one who slit his throat, and he killed Manjeet, which was another thing that happened in the first episode that we were shocked by. And it was so long ago since
that was awful.
Yeah, and again we were like, what is she doing? I find a lot of the
she was
season
trying to
I didn't
redeem
really know
herself.
what anyone was doing for most of the time. I was really confused by what everyone was doing, particularly Hastings. I don't know what he was up to.
Okay, let's talk about the whole Hastings/H thing, okay?
Yeah.
Which this season leaned into really heavily.
4 letters were spoken too much in this season. OCG and H. They should have been barred from the writer's room. And they just said them 100 times a minute.
For me, I found this whole plot to be just a real letdown.
Yeah.
Because it felt from the very beginning this doesn't line up.
Like, we know Ted isn't H.
He's obviously not H, because and then
sorry for anyone who lives on the street that hasn't seen the finale.
Every this isn't spoiler street. We're on non-spoiler street. Every sort of every little plot tick that they try to make us think like, oh, he's up to something. He brings and it's the show deliberately misleading us with editing, which I also thought they tried to do in the first episode, and I don't really appreciate that. When it's like we see Lisa typing to H on the computer, and then cut to Hastings has a computer.
So apparently
now he's
Hastings
getting rid of
look
it.
at like really nasty porn.
We get it. They never really wrapped that up properly.
I think it was just Catholic guilt. I don't think he was looking at like weird stuff. I think he just feels guilty because he's obsessed with his wife.
I disagree. I think that was a lie, and I think there's something more to that which they're gonna. They
can't bring it out again next season.
No, there's definitely a few unresolved elements with what Hastings was doing throughout that whole season.
And why was he given the money? We still don't know why they gave him that money.
Yeah, they've left enough loose threads that they can pick them up again, which I think is fine. But however, I don't buy it. He's not H. And also if he was H and wanted and
was helping the OCG,
and knew that John Corbett was a rat, then he would have known the entire season, because they found that out in episode 1.
Well, no, but you forget that you forget that Operation Pear Tree was locked down until episode 1.
Yes,
and then,
fine, but then
he
he knows, and then for the rest of the season, if he was H, he would have acted upon that information sooner instead of 4 episodes in going to somebody. And also, that's not how he would have delivered that message to Lisa, not go to a guy in prison.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Stephen Graham did the best job of all for H. He did a huge job for him in terms of nicking all that stuff. So you kind of might have let him do the job before you killed him.
Maybe.
The other thing is, I feel like this whole season was maybe only set over at maximum a fortnight. It was really tight time.
Yeah.
So there's not actually, when they were talking about dates in the final interview, and they were talking about March 10th, March 14th, it was the last few episodes were within hours of each other. So don't forget that.
Fine, but I just feel like that was all just an absolute waste of time, because
we knew.
I really didn't think it was him. The only way the show could have surprised me if it was him, and I would have been surprised, but I don't think that would have been a very satisfying conclusion.
It wouldn't have been emotionally satisfying, because we know that Ted's not like that.
So it's so I just feel like they wrote themselves into a hole with that plot, and I feel like, for me, I imagine they started with, let's get Hastings on the other side of the interview table. Wouldn't that be a great scene? And then they worked backwards from there. And to be fair, episodes 6, all the Hastings under the spotlight stuff, I thought was excellent.
He's such a good actor.
And the foil they brought in for him was so good. What's that actress' name?
I forget.
Anyway,
she was really good.
Excellent. So I enjoyed all that. And yeah, Adrian Dunbar, who plays Hastings, was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was such a showcase for him.
He had a lot to do, and he was really good in it. So it was
but it wasn't as satisfying to me as, because obviously they did it with Steve before in, I think, season 3, where the caddy, Doc Cotton, aka Craig Parkinson, who's been on the Cinemile, if you haven't heard his episode where we went to see
Can You Ever Forgive Me?
And we love him, right? We totally loved him when we met him. So
just a lovely guy as well.
So biased.
And also from the Two Shot podcast, which you should go listen to if you haven't already.
Yeah, because he's actually interviewed Vicky McClure, he's interviewed Adrian Dunbar, and I think he's interviewed
Martin Compston
as well.
Yeah, so
if
you like Line of Duty and you want to hear Line of Duty actors talking to each other,
that's
probably more interesting than this.
But anyway, the stuff where he was setting Steve Arnott up to make out he was the caddy, that was such a good season.
Oh yes.
And I found those
season
interviews
3,
much
amazing.
more satisfying, because we were on this, we knew that he was being set up, so we understood all the stuff that Cotton was laying against him. And we saw that all ravel between the two of them across the table. Whereas this time I felt like Ted didn't really defend himself very well, and I felt like Ted should have done better. I felt like we kind of knew it. We knew the evidence was stacked against him. I don't know, it just didn't really work for me the way it worked. Where it was so fun in that other season when it was Arnott had really messed up. He'd slept with Lindsay Denton. He'd done all sorts of stupid stuff. In this one, I don't know, I just didn't quite buy it.
I never bought why he slept with Lindsay Denton.
I know, right? It was so dumb of him. But they even mentioned that in this one. The woman who comes in to investigate Ted, oh yeah, you're shagging around, basically. They have established that in the past, so he is a bit of a loose cannon, because even him with Stephen Graham in this season, he was trying to help Stephen Graham when he wasn't really supposed to be.
I thought all that stuff was great. Loved all that stuff. So I really, to the season, I think the season as a whole, because it sort of had that big shock moment in episode 4 where it kind of killed off the main character. I think it kind of delivered a great shock that nobody saw coming, but it kind of left itself a bit flat for the last 2 episodes, because all the last 2 episodes were left with was the Hastings/H stuff, which for me was far less interesting than the John Corbett stuff. So,
and can I just say brief spoilers for Bodyguard, okay? So turn off if you haven't listened to Bodyguard for the next minute. He did the same trick in Bodyguard.
Yes, I wanted to say that as well.
Killed the end of Bodyguard when we lost Lindsay Denton, aka the Home Secretary in Bodyguard.
It's like he was watching Game of Thrones and he was like, I want to do that. Like, they killed Ned Stark. How cool is that? He's the main guy. And it's just like, yeah, but Game of Thrones has so many characters to fall back on. Whereas,
did you see the Bodyguard?
Your whole season is held up by really one actor who's the focus of this thing and one character. And then it's like, I just don't think it worked.
To their credit, that's why they brought in that other woman, though. Then but she was a new adversary.
It's too late.
Yeah, we bought into Stephen.
And it also, I agree with you. I think the same thing happened in Bodyguard. It's huge shock. I was like, whoa! But actually, that show suffered even more
because no one left to Bodyguard.
No one left to Bodyguard, but also they had such sizzling chemistry. The two of them.
That won the BAFTA last night for best TV moment. Her death.
Oh really? Yeah. I mean, it was a total shock. But I think this is it. By delivering a shock moment like that, you're kind of undercutting the narrative. So it's a bold move, but for me, all we were left with by the end was just the interview scenes, which were very good, but felt ultimately like narratively hollow for me.
But you forget about the epic part.
Because there was no ultimate tension
of the interview scene, though. Jill Bigelow, my favourite character.
Bigelow.
My favourite character in Game of, what's it called? Line of Duty. She literally shows up. I'm here for
seduces herself around the screen, and then sultries up the screen.
I love how she speaks. I love every way she expresses her face. And then she's just sitting there going going through the stuff, and then she just owns that woman and says, you came in on a section 38, but it should have been a section 18. Ted, your lawyer should have spotted this. But we knew already. I said to Dave at the start of the season, I was like, Jill Bigelow's
knew she was corrupt.
We knew because she was defending the paedophile ring that the
in
Paddy was
season
a part
3
of.
they heavily implied, and I thought resolutely said, she was corrupt. So when I saw her show up here at the beginning, I was like, wait, isn't she dirty? Don't we know that?
Yeah, but then I thought maybe it's just because she's chief counsel and she buries people's dirty work. But I just loved her when she came in on Ted's side, and then her and that woman were facing off. That was epic.
I thought it was a very interesting moment because it was very well delivered, but also it's the first time I can think in a show where police admin clerical error resulting in a mistrial or something is something we were suddenly rooting for, because normally that's presented as oh my god, they almost had the bad guy, but somebody fucked up. The judicial system doesn't work. But this time it was like, yay, the judicial system doesn't work.
Ted alone, he
and
needs
Ted's
that 50 grand. It's not nice to take Ted's 50 grand in cash. But I said it to Dave when they were searching the room. I was like, on what grounds are they searching this room? I've watched Line of Duty for too long. I was like, Dave, this is not admissible. I knew it.
Kathy turned to me and she was like, wait, did they say section 32? Because I think under paragraph 67 subclause 6 they'd have the wrong arrest warrant.
But that was the bit, because Ted wasn't really defending himself. Ted just kept going, I'm not banned. And
but Ted knew his number was
But that's why I loved when Jill Bigelow came in.
Cash.
Because last season what we had was Tandy Newton versus Ted, and it was epic, and she was saying things like, did you or did you not on X day refer to me as a wee girl? Have you never promoted a woman in your ranks? And it's kind of implied for me off the basis that she proved that Ted had never promoted a woman, that he systemically was sexist, that he uses sexist language all the time. And then it was interesting to come back at the start of this season and see that Kate has been promoted above Arnott, because we know she's a really good cop, but I think he had to do it because of the realisation of how he had been treating her really sexist. There was a thing in the last season where they were both going for the promotion and he met Arnott in a pub to talk about it, and then Kate said, we should go for a drink and talk about it, and he's like, I hardly think that's appropriate. He was being really weird. So I was really pleased to see her get the promotion this season, and I think she was really good, and I think she is better than Arnott, because Arnott's a loose cannon, whereas Kate's beautifully informs above Hastings when he's acted inappropriately, which was necessary. Like he'd completely lost the rag. Like,
I did like all that stuff from a character point of view, the way Hastings is all about his team and he stands up for them and has done in the past, and he expected the same. They were very wary of like going above his head and waited for as long as possible
until he sent himself undercover unlawfully and was just outrageous.
Well, yeah, but there's there's an interesting counterpoint with them in AC12 being this like tight, loyal unit, and then you see in AC3 when Ted's counterpart. When her detective slips up on the whatever subclause section 32 evidence issue, she's like, "I'll be expecting your transfer,"
which was epic, though.
Like there's so she doesn't instill loyalty.
Well, clearly not, because her other one was a bloody murderess.
But that was a lame twist as well, and I saw that one.
Yeah, that was enjoyable, though. Come on.
But by the end, I feel like episodes 5 and 6. It just escalates into kind of soap opera.
Yeah, it got really silly. I did say I really enjoyed Kate and Arnott working together to help Hastings and save Hastings, because he's done a lot for them, and I was really happy to see them come in and kind of save him, like from that perspective, and like I thought they did really good detective work.
Yeah.
But then when they were all in the room together, it just got silly. Like, we were like, why are they allowed to lead this interview? The
silly.
other woman was in charge.
And they were like, "Excuse me, ma'am, but we need to have a chat with Detective Hastings, who incidentally has been suspended for his job on suspicion of murder."
I know.
It's like you're not going to let them have this chat with him. That's ridiculous.
And his hair follicles were on the body.
Well, that looked bad, yeah.
But we know how that's happened. But like to be to the police's credit, like they have to take it seriously when your hairs are on a dead victim's body. Like Ted's like, "Oh, don't worry about that. That can be explained away very easily," and it makes more sense, because a couple of episodes ago I was like to Dave, like, what's in this for Jill? Like, she's shagging Ted in like what can only be described as the lowest possible rent motel room. There's a photo of his wife next to the bed. It was just like Jill can't be this desperate. Like,
yeah,
so we knew she was up to something. So I love that she was in there like ripping hairs from his
But what's
hairbrush.
interesting is you don't know what they have on Jill, because the criminal organisation seems to have stuff over people. Which
Well, we know from season 1 that they murder people, freeze the bodies, takes people's DNA, and plant the DNA on dead bodies.
Yeah, exactly.
That was all the stuff, and they did call it back to Tony. Like, they've really called back every season, and at the very end, Tony's girlfriend from the very first episode, who was killed, she's the body that's found with.
Yeah, that was a nice little payoff.
Stephen Graham. So I think actually, it's quite an astonishing feat to bring all that together. It just, the whole scene slightly erupted and went a bit mad.
It was just a bit much, and she's about to hit the button the same way Dot did, and then it was like, no, we've already got rid of the security, and there's people running in last minute with evidence. It was,
and then the evil red-headed one.
It's all for a show that sort of revels in authenticity and detail so much. When it gets to these sort of
it goes bonkers.
narrative bonkers points, it's like you're reminded that it's a scripted.
And like the
TV
very
show.
end of The Bodyguard went completely off the rails as well. I mean, I would argue this is a much better show than The Bodyguard, albeit I really enjoyed The Bodyguard. But yeah, all the stuff in the end, I did enjoy, like Jill and the woman like basically knifing each other in a toilet. I thought that was quite enjoyable.
It's just a bit much. And look, for me, let's talk about the bit after that, where Arnott walks into the room with a picture of Cotton's body on screen.
Oh my god!
And suddenly
this
cracks.
is so bad.
Suddenly cracks what they were missing the whole time. That Dot in his dying breath.
His dying declaration keeps being referenced. He never said anything. He didn't declare anything. He basically
just
blinked and tapped his hand like spasmed. That's it.
I mean,
and they were like, "It's 4 dots. It's 4 for Dot. There's four caddies."
It's like,
what are they talking about?
It's hardly the basis for like your entire investigation into the OCG and H. Like, literally, he blinked a couple of times and then his fingers moved.
Yeah,
and also
he was in a death spasm.
The fact that he looked at a picture of his hand and realised he was Morse code, and I actually said it to you as a joke. I said, when Arnott reveals what this is, it's probably going to turn out that he was like Morse coding it, who H is, and that is what it is, and that's just dreadful.
But how they explained it to Hastings
so
was like, this is how Kate explained Morse code to Hastings, who like has been a policeman for like 40 years, including like in the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Like, she's like, "Sir, don't you understand?
A series of taps.
Tap, tap, tap. tap. She says the word tap loads and loads of times, or dot, and then she's like, it's Morse code. It's like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, yeah, we even got that. Like,
but like literally, this is what happens at the end of Who Shot Mr. Burns when he throws his arms over the letters W and S, which upside down means Maggie's. It's like, come on, guys, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I think the show is really in danger of retreating up its own arse with this OCG stuff.
Well, they've been commissioned for another season, so I think they're going to make just one more. They got like a double commission. So
and we know now there were 4 dots.
Well, he wrote this season knowing he was writing another one. But that was the boring bit. Okay, so
I don't care. For me, I come to this
care.
show.
So who are the 4? They said it. Dot Bigelow.
Dot Bigelow and Hastings. No, Hilton.
Hilton. You missed all his stuff last season, which was really good. So the 4th might be that whatever policeman's recruiting this young guy now. But again, I don't care.
I don't care because
I want a new case.
There's nobody left who if they revealed it, it would be like, oh my god, it's that person. Like, who's left? It's got like, you've got the chief.
It's one of the two at the end, the woman or the man who were talking to the press. But we don't care about them.
Like, who talking to the press? Like, I don't care. If they revealed it was either of them, I'd be like, so?
Yeah.
And also, if it's someone new, I'd be like, so?
Yeah. I want a new case. I want a new Lindsay Denton.
Yeah, the reason I like this show is the new cases and the sort of emotional core of one guest star amazing character who is being investigated, and then you unravel the reasons for their corruption, and it's like it's there's shades of grey, and it's really interesting.
Well, if only you'd seen season 4, because it was a completely different plot.
Well, fine,
so they skipped it.
I'll go back and watch it.
So because
I love Tandy Newton as well.
They should have skipped. I just hope that they didn't do it in season 4, and it was good because it was onto a different plot. And I just want them to go finish on another plot again, wrap this stuff up as a side plot. That's fine, but like,
no, but they're not. They're too far into this, and what's happening to Line of Duty is exactly what happened to the most recent James Bond films with Daniel Craig, where spoilers for Spectre, if you care about that or haven't seen it, skip on about a minute. Spectre is basically this big reveal that Christoph Waltz, I was the architect of all your pain, James, and then it turns out that all the other villains had been working for him.
It's the same in Avengers. Everything's down to Thanos.
But like, I just don't care. I didn't buy it, and I didn't buy that. Like, those 4 movies, they tried to link them all together, literally with like red bits of twine at the end when Christoph Waltz sets up this elaborate
trap. You can stop talking about James Bond now.
But basically, that movie just. That movie series just lost the plot completely and got wrapped up in its own constructions and its own narratives and world, and it just didn't land. And I feel like the same. I don't care about this OCG and their big.
I think I've enough faith in Jed
anymore.
Mercurio's abilities, which are like very, very impressive, that he will not belabor this as a whole plot for the next season. I really don't. I think it's going to be a side plot.
They'll hopefully use the formula. They'll find another character with enough who will bring us along, and that's what I'll be showing up.
And literally, I'm pretty sure at this point every English actor will be absolutely gunning to get that guest role.
I know, right?
It is, right? I want it.
But it's exciting. It's exciting to think, who will it be? What will it be about? Like,
and I just can't wait to see Kate in prison, because that's the only way for this to go now. Everyone in AC-12 has to be in prison for a crime they didn't commit.
How is AC-12 still running?
It's such a joke of a department.
How stupid that Hastings has his job back. I do not buy it. Like, the man was suspended for duty and like almost charged with like murder, and there's a million things that have not been explained.
No, but they said he's on his final warning. I was like, would you have somebody who's on their final warning and he's been like openly arrested as the head of an anti-corruption union, when you know they basically said at the end like that there was 50 grand missing that they know Ted took.
But like, have they not forgotten he actually did try to kill Stephen Graham's
100%. They left it ambiguous though. At the very end, the woman said, I can't remember her name, but the big guest actress, she said to her boss, I know that he told him in the prison, and her boss said, let it go, and you had a bed one in your squad, so don't throw stones and glass houses, which was a good scene.
Yeah, but I don't, like that. That's literally a line of dialogue so they can explain away why Adrian Dunbar is still in the show.
Yeah, he shouldn't. Like, he would be forced into early retirement. Like, it's a joke. But
nonsense.
Even the fact that like after everything Arnott went through, the fact that he's still on the force, and the fact that the cadre was on the force, who was like so like like criminal and awful, and he turned out to have operated under Hastings for years without Hastings suspecting anything. Like, it's a completely inept task force. The only one who's
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
above reproach is Kate.
Yeah,
So-
who probably is H.
That's what I said. If Kate's H, because it always has to be the
No.
one you don't suspect, that would
She's
have been
the only
fun.
one left, but
But
like,
I just didn't enjoy the
I
character
don't
stuff
want
with
that.
her and her husband either. I just thought that was all a bit crap. Like, they should just not bother doing it if they're not going to do it right.
Well, yeah, you only get 2 scenes. It's like in CSI Miami or NCIS or those like cop shows where it's a different case each week, and then they try to give you some slight backstory, but they don't have enough room in a 40-minute episode to just give you one moment of one of the characters at home.
Yeah,
And
it's like, ooh, her husband's crossed, she's working late hours, she said her promotion would help. We know from season 1 she cheated on her husband. He clearly hasn't forgiven her. Okay, but fine, where's any of this going? Like, it's added
But like,
really
I
nothing
don't
to
care
it.
because you haven't given me enough to be invested in Kate as a mother.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm invested in Kate as a deliverer of perfunctory exposition, which she does.
And I'm invested
with
in her
aplomb.
haircut because it fascinates me that she can pull that haircut off.
She's nailing that.
She's nailing it.
Yeah.
And then the other woman, her nemesis on the other side, who messed up the arrest warrant.
Yeah,
she,
not as good. She tried the Kate.
She tried the. She was Kate.
Do you think
she was
went,
dark Kate?
Do you think she went into the hairdresser with a picture of Kate?
Oh, for sure.
It was
Absolutely.
like, I'm looking for the AC12 look.
Well, she's like Kate Hastings number 2, and she's the other woman's number 2.
Yeah.
And weirdly, when I was
Dark
looking up,
Kate. I like that. Do you think she's like the mirror universe version
yeah,
of Kate?
for
where
sure.
she needed like
she's
a
her
goatee.
tethered. But she, when I went on the weird like Wikipedia of characters from Line of Duty, and I clicked on that actress, and then I read that apparently she's going to come up in the latest season of Game of Thrones.
Oh,
2
right.
episodes to go.
Oh,
Haven't
good.
watched
We
the
get to see her.
latest.
Okay.
Haven't watched Game of Thrones
Come on,
yet.
let's wrap this up unless you've any last thoughts on Line of
No,
Duty.
honestly, I just can't wait for it to come back again because I absolutely love water cooler TV. And if Game of Thrones hadn't been running at the same time as this, we would have probably done episodic reviews of this because it's that big. Like, it is the show that like you go into work and everyone's talking about the next day. So I just love that as an event. So same with
It's a lot of
Bodyguard.
fun.
Yeah,
and
love
look,
that.
we're interested to hear how many of you guys have watched Line of Duty and are listening to this. So let us know your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree, or what are the thoughts you have? Who do you think is H?
Who's the fourth caddy?
The fourth dot. Let us know in the comments. If it's on patreon.com/the Cinemile. If you're listening to this on your podcast app, that's where all the comments are under this post. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys
Bye.
soon.
For the tape, I'm exiting the room.
What room? We're outside.
For the tape, I'm exiting the outside.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.